Hi, everybody. How
Greetings,
are you?
everyone.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're all about on Juneteenth. And Georgette has something that she wants to share with us at the top of the hour.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another session of our discussion, our book discussion from the Dr. Consuela Francis Reading Circle. We welcome our current members and our new attendees. And just to bring people up to date in regards to why did we name our reading circle after Dr. Consuela Francis, I want to give a really brief history of her. Dr. Consuela Francis served as Associate Provost and Professor of English and African American Studies at the College of Charleston, and starting in 2002. In 2007, she was appointed Director of African American Studies program at the college. And in July 2015, she joined the Office of Academic Affairs as Associate Provost for Curriculum and Institutional Resources. Her love of passion, her love of literature was as comprehensive and expansive as her smile. Her passion to share her passion of reading propelled her to create a community book club at the County African American Library, known as the John L. Dart on King Street. She called her newly formed project Dart After Dark. Unfortunately, Dr. Francis passed away on May 9th, 2016, following a brief illness, and is survived by her husband, Brian McCann, and her two daughters, Frances and Catherine McCann. The Reading Circle was renamed in her honor in the fall of that year. So that's a really brief history of Dr. Consuela Francis, who we think about every month while we're doing our readings and discussions.
Happily.
And I turn it over to you, Miss Ruth Rambo.
All right, thank you. I want to add one more thing about Dr. Francis. Georgette did a wonderful summary. It's hard to summarize a life that had that much power and influence on other people. I was a student of Dr. Francis's. I audited a good number of her literature courses, and as a result, then became a part of her community book club, which was the Dart After Dark program. But the part that remains with me is that her smile, of course, her ability to bring joy basically into situations that were conflicting and potentially chaotic. It was that she embraced so many literary genres. People, scholars in literature tend to be a little bit elitist, not Consuela. She was into the graphic novel. She was into sorrow song. She was into everything. But today we are talking about On Juneteenth by Annette Gordon-Reid, and I'm going to ask Courtney if she'll flash up on the screen the biography of Dr. Gordon-Reid, which is quite extensive. She, the most notable, and I think we would all agree, the supreme test of your literary prowess is the Pulitzer. Well, Dr. Gordon-Reid has Pulitzer. She's a MacArthur Fellow. We know what that means. That's the Genius Grant. That ought to, just the name of that ought to tell you something. And the Guggenheim. She's amazing. And she's brought together this wonderful compendium. I'm not
Not to
sure.
interrupt you, Miss Randall, I'm so sorry. I need you to take your microphone and put it closer to your mouth, please. People are having a little.
Surely, is that better?
That's significantly better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Um, she has given us a very interesting combination of things. I'm not sure what to call it. Uh, Let that be our first question. How would you describe what she's given us? What is this book? History? Memoir? Autobiography? Genealogy? What is this? Now you know you got to talk to me because I will. I will talk the whole time, so you don't want that. I know. Come on. What do you think?
All of the above.
All of the above. So, if you were recommending it, and would you recommend it? If you were recommending it to a friend, how would you describe it?
Oh, me personally, I would say it's a small book packed with a lot of information.
Good shot. Oh yes, nice descriptor. It's a tiny little thing. I looked at it. I said, "Oh,
Yeah.
blow this off." Hit me 9 times in between the eyes. Anybody? What do you think? What do you think she did here? How would you describe it? Now I'm gonna start calling names. Now you know you don't want that. Come on. Who wants to add?
You lost your picture too?
I'm sorry.
I lost my picture in here.
I didn't quite understand what was said. I'm sorry. My question is, how would you describe the book? What do you think about how she did it and what she did? Okay, let me try another question. Let me go another way.
I'll just say, I thought I loved the
Yeah.
way she mixed her personal life with the larger history of Texas, the nation. In a way, it actually reminded me of another book we read, the Farrah Jasmine Griffith book. I love the way both of them mixed their personal stories with
Yes.
either literature or history or both.
Yes.
It was beautifully written, this book.
Yes. The writing was clear and quick. And anybody want to come on in and talk about what you thought? Well, let me go back to this question. Can you tell me when you knew of Juneteenth and what were the circumstances surrounding your being introduced to Juneteenth? Nobody? Come on. When does anybody remember ever celebrating it before now or knowing of it? Pam, are you raising your hand or are you adjusting the screen?
I was unmuting. I used to work at a museum in Hartford, Connecticut, at the Wadsworth Atheneum that has an Amistad gallery of African American history and art, and they would throw a blowout party every Juneteenth. It was the best party of the year. So,
okay, so you knew of it early, and you
in my 30s,
before it became a national holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What about anybody else? Is this your?
Oh.
Go ahead, Valerie.
Oh, thank you so much. I've known about it for a decade or so, and I was intrigued by it. And, I read about it in literature, but I was struck by her mention of, that she didn't know if she was willing to share Juneteenth with others outside of Texas in terms of legitimate interest and in terms of its relevance. So, in terms of national debates, as this has become a holiday that we all celebrate and it's been commercialized and what have you, that was something that struck me as to, when we remember Juneteenth, what is our connection and how should we best commemorate it? And also the legacy that, the state of Texas, has given us.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Um,
yes, go right ahead.
this is Deborah.
Hi, Deborah.
Hi there. So it's been celebrated here in Charleston for a number of years. There have been programs. I can remember that even after the Remembrance program on occasion, It's been the Juneteenth day, and we go into it. Used to there used to be some events down in Hampton Park.
Yes.
I'm talking like maybe 15 years ago or more or less. It seems like it would be sporadic. Like I don't recall it every year, but I do recall attending some Juneteenth programs here in Charleston.
I remember attending a Juneteenth program here at Park Circle in
Okay,
North Charleston at that, that the center
yes.
over there. I remember there being, and as you mentioned, it was sporadic. Anybody else want to share? Because my introduction, I was telling Georgette earlier, I had my maternal grandmother lived in Austin. And so I was sent south to visit with grandma. And I attended Blackshear Elementary School, which at that time, of course, was a Black institution. And we celebrated Juneteenth. So I've known of Juneteenth for a very long time and was quite surprised that it found its way into the nation's history. Happily, of course, I was happy to share. She wasn't quite as thrilled with that notion. Anybody else have a story about when they learned of it? Well, Georgette has done us an enormous favor. She connected us with the Avery Research Center, which has become our sponsor and kind of godmother, I guess, of the Consuela Francis Book Club. And as a result, we have been the beneficiaries of a good number of books. So Courtney, is this a bad time for you? Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Can we get, okay, before we put the question up, we have 3 books entitled On Juneteenth to give to the person who can answer a question about the book. So in order to be called upon to give the answer, the first person that yells out their name, whichever you want to do, your first or your last, and I'm going to ask Georgette to help me hear this so we can, if there's a tie, we can come up. And if you come up with the right answer, you'll get a copy. You'll get sent a copy in the mail of On Juneteenth. So those of you who already bought it, we apologize, but you can give it to a friend as a gift. And those of you who didn't, you'll have this and you can look back upon it. Okay, Courtney, can you flash up question number 1? Ready? You all ready? And I don't have a copy of the question, so I can't ask you.
Courtney, if you don't have it, I can flash it.
Oh, something's coming.
I didn't know we were doing on the screen.
Okay, when did the Texas Legislature officially recognize Juneteenth? Nobody calling out the name?
It was 1865. What was that?
No, the name. You need to tell me the name. Your name. First. Who just responded?
Oh, that was me, but I don't remember. I know it was an 18. I know the year, but I don't know the
What year
date.
did you say?
I said 1865.
What? I need a buzzer. But no. No, officially, the Texas Legislature officially recognized Juneteenth Day. You gave me the day when it was celebrated.
Gotcha.
Okay, I need when was it law in Texas? It's in the book.
And Google is your friend.
Hint. We'll never know. This is an open book now. This is an open book quiz.
I'm going to start playing the Jeopardy music.
Okay. Da, 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 da,
No, y'all don't want me to go.
da, 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 da. Nope. Nobody going for it. All right. And the date is 1979. Okay. You ready for question number 2?
Question, Miss Rambo, before let's back. If you Google it, it's 1980. So if somebody said 1979 or 1980,
In the history of Juneteenth, the date is officially the June 1979. That's when it was officially recognized.
okay, but it's also stated as Texas State holiday, formerly known as Emancipation Day,
Yes.
1980. So either one would have been correct.
Yes. Oh, yes. We would have happily accepted a year off. Absolutely. But okay. So Texas, of course, was the first state to officially recognize the day. We agreed on that. And so it was around, we'll say circa 1979. Let's see question number 2. Call out your name the minute you know the answer.
Give me a minute, Miss Rambo, to get it together.
Sure. Since I can't do it at all, I'm very happy to wait on nobody.
Okay.
What Ivy League college was founded to educate Native Americans?
This is
Name.
Judy and
Name.
Dartmouth. This
Judy?
is Judy, and I think it was Dartmouth, right?
Yes, it was. Give that woman a clap, a cigar, and a book. All right. It was Dartmouth College. And we do know that the writer of the book not only was an alum of Dartmouth, but she also served on their board of trustees for a good period of time. And question number 3.
Oh, hold on. You're going a little bit too fast. I have to get Judy.
Yes,
It's you're the one that answered
I
correctly.
am.
Okay, I will message you my email if you can contact me.
Sure.
If you email me, I'll be able to send you the book. Okay.
Sure, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on.
This is courtesy of the Avery Research Center. The book.
Good to know. Thanks.
Okay, question number 3. Well, I guess I need to have a question number 4. I'll just ask you the question number 4 because no one won the first one, right? Do we have an extra book? Love it. Love it, love it. Which United States senator introduced a bill into the United States Senate in 2018 to make Juneteenth a national holiday? Okay, I see I'm gonna have to have other questions. I have to do the da 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 dum da 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 da. Okay, no one going for this. You're gonna love the answer to this. I know I was very surprised.
Linda.
Linda? Yes, try.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Let's see, according to Google, not the book, Sheila Jackson Lee, Texas,
No.
18.
Senator,
No,
what U.S.
Senator. Oh, Senator Cornyn.
Yes. And where was he from?
Senator Cornyn is from. It doesn't say. I would guess he's from Texas,
No,
but he could be.
He
could be
Republican
from.
senator from Mississippi.
I was going to say Mississippi.
From Mississippi, yes, he is.
I was going to say Mississippi.
right.
Sorry.
No problem. So tell me about Representative Sheila Jackson Lee.
I'm not I apologize, and thank you so much for having this this meeting. The backstory is that I used to live in Charleston, and right before the pandemic, we moved to Chapel Hill, but I still get the Avery Institute messages and emails. And I don't know, you know, when you ask the question about when did we find out, I didn't want to expose my ignorance, but it's been in this 2-year period. And
there's no such thing as ignorance. There's so much information in the world. No one person can know even 1 centillionth of what there is to know. So don't ever feel ashamed here.
Well, that's why I'm saying it now, because I felt like it was a safe thing to say. But in this 2-year period by Zoom, the church that I've joined in Chapel Hill, it's the United Church of Chapel Hill. We have a book discussion group, and it's very stimulating, and it's just expanded my thinking. So in that process of those discussions, we've read a number of books, but that's where I learned about it. And then I mentioned it to a friend, and I read the review. I read the review I think in the New York Times. Anyway, my friend gave me on Juneteenth for Christmas. And so I don't know. It's just a failure of something in that I taught U.S. history in South Carolina and Virginia. And I knew, and I attended in Charleston the Emancipation Parade on January 1st regularly, but I did not know about Juneteenth. And I'm so sorry that, but now I do. And it shows that there's always something more to know. But I'm not answering your original question. I'm sorry. It was about something about Jackson, and I know nothing about Jackson. So somebody else can take the floor for that.
Mentioned her, and let me say this. Representative Jackson Lee did introduce legislation to make in the House in 2018 and 2019. She presented a bill, and it was not the one that promoted it, but it certainly went a long way toward educating other people about and helping to create the framework in which this legislation passed, and it became a national holiday. So I just wanted to get that in. And I overlooked something. You will remember when Deborah was talking about remembrance, and it's and that in some how she was connecting that with Juneteenth celebration, that there is here in Charleston and has been for 25 years a celebration of Middle Passage, which is a whole another part of the history that has been systematically overlooked. But anyway, the point is that Deborah, along with 3 other people, founded the Charleston Middle Passage Remembrance, and it's a project that has gone on for 25 years. And Deborah was honored and celebrated at this year's event because of her role. And so I just wanted to go back and say kudos to Deborah. She has been she's a influencer and a creator, and we're so delighted that she's here. And she of course is not going to promote herself, so we have to acknowledge that we have somebody of significance.
Miss Rambo, she was an influencer before that term influencer
became popular. Yes, she's always had agency. She doesn't deal with it, but she's always had agency. So let's go back to the book. Now, tell me how much you knew about Texas and Texas's relationship to the development of the United States and with the other 47 states. Marlene, you need to unmute. I can see your mouth running. I can't.
I said, that's a loaded question.
Hopefully.
Ooh, okay. Texas, how can I put this? Texas was very influential because they, at the time, well, as of now, they're still like the largest. They had a lot of hatred, a lot of slavery, a lot of, I don't even know use the right words, but one thing I just say, I just wanted to get in it, that what we did learn about Texas was that the book showed a lot of the fears of the colonizers, and it was the potential greatness that we had the potential greatness for chance, and that was one of the things that Texas did not allow, the chance for greatness.
What about the notion of the Lone Star State? What did that mean to you before you read the book, and what does it mean to you now? Yeah, I see a whole bunch of names up here. I see a Judy name. I see a Bertheria. Is that how you pronounce it?
Bertheria.
Thank you. I see these names on the screen, but I don't hear any voices. Can I hear some voices? What did you think Lone Star State meant originally, and has the book changed your mind or helped broaden your understanding of it?
Well, after living in Texas for about 13 years, Lone Star is something that they really embrace there throughout their history, really, of being the ones that were sort of a leader to break away and have their own country, own form of government. They were not going to be brought into the fold, if you will, to go along with the other states at that time. And to some extent, Texas still sort of sees itself that way.
Yes, I was very surprised at the potential and the readiness of Texas to basically secede, or not to join, not even secede, to not join the United States, to be its own republic with its own rules and so forth and so on. And part of their reluctance to become the 48th state was about very inclination that they would not be slave. I didn't realize how impactful the notion of slavery was in the development of the United States. It just goes on and on and on. But anyway, I thought Lone Star State was like, we're separate, we're different, we're big, we're set apart. I did not understand that they really meant alone.
Right, and that they would stand alone.
Yes, yes. I was quite startled by that. Was anyone else?
Excuse me, Ms. Rambo, I have another request in regards to your microphone. We want to make sure everybody hears you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I get excited to start, I think I must have some other influences because I use my hands a lot when I talk. So I'll try to hold the microphone up and be good. Okay. Thank you. So there are a number of people here who have a Texas experience. What did you think about, let's go to her a bit and talk about her and the parts that she shares and her opinions about some of these things. What did you think about her parents' decision to send her to the white school, particularly since her mother was teaching at the black school? What do you think went into the decision? Was it a good decision? Anybody?
I think that it was a good decision for the outcome that we see, but I'm pretty sure as a parent, that had to be like one of the hardest decisions you make. Even though you know it's a good decision, you know that you're putting your child in that position to be ridiculed, whatever, because you're not there with the child every day, and children can be cruel just on a normal. So it had to be a decision they made, and they had to stick with it, but it had to be one of those, Lord, help me through this kind of decision.
Why do you think it was the right one? Anybody?
I think I have to interject that I'm thinking of several different things. You know, when I read something like this, or hear about something like this, the project that Dr. Middleton Brown,
Yes.
somebody had to do it. It always comes to my mind about young African American Black children integrating, being the first and most likely the only ones integrating schools.
You want to talk a little bit more about Millicent, because not everybody will know Millicent's experience.
Dr. Middleton Brown is a local scholar and activist in the Charleston community. Her father was the head of the NAACP, the Charleston branch of the NAACP in the 1950s and 60s, and she integrated Rivers High School in 1963. Her older sister was on the ballot on the legal case, but she aged out. So the next child to step up,
Minerva King.
Minerva King was the one that was on the original legal case, but she, as I said, she aged out, and it was Millicent that was able to attend Rivers High School. And ironically, in the state of South Carolina, total integration had to happen by 1968. And everybody reflects back to Brown versus the Board of Education in 1954, but South Carolina was digging their heels in because they really didn't want to do this. So that's why it was mandated by 1968. So, Millicent Brown integrating Rivers High School in 1963 was groundbreaking, because she was one of the first ones in the state to do so. She wasn't the only one, but in Charleston County, so they took that initiative. So she had started this initiative several years ago in regards to somebody had to do it. That's the title of the initiative, and it's surveying students, former students as adults, and their experiences integrating white schools. And many of the experiences were not pleasant that were conveyed. And I have to promote Avery again as our archives. We hold those transcripts and tapes and in our archive.
And they're open to the public.
And they're open to the public.
Thank you. I'm really happy that we're talking about this particular issue, because I think very often back in the day, the source of lots of information regarding what was happening in the civil rights movement was in Jet magazine. And so there would be first Black this, first Black that, first Black so forth and so on, just on and on and on and on and on. Continues to this day. And I notice now they're doing it with the Asians, and I find it very interesting that that's part of the protocol to become a part of the American scene, is to have all of these glass ceilings broken. Many years ago, the Library of Congress did a project. I think it was called the Foot Soldiers of the Civil Rights Movement, and they compiled thousands and thousands of stories of people who, like Millicent, did groundbreaking things, like Annette Gordon-Reid did groundbreaking things, first person to register to vote, first person to, go to a high school, first person to go to a work at such and such a thing or be on the board of, and so forth. So those people whose names will never be acknowledged many of them laid down their lives to make sure that we could finally have a national holiday that acknowledges, one, that there was slavery in this country, that we actively engaged as a nation in the sale of human beings. That's one. But then to celebrate rejecting the notion. It's been a long time. Hey, it was 1619 to today. Anyway, it's been a long time. So she was a groundbreaker in that regard.
So getting back to the question, because I don't think that I really fully answered it. But, I'm thinking in regards to her parents and doing that decision. I'm also thinking back to Dr. Gordon-Reid's experience going to the doctor and how they had the separate
entrances to the clinic.
And she would look in and see on the white side they had magazines. It was more comfortable.
Yes.
So you could only imagine with this, what their parents were, and I'm pretty supposing what her parents was thinking, because it really wasn't really brought out, because the answer didn't seem all that great that they gave her years later.
Well, her father was the well, I wouldn't say apologist, but I think he was the one who felt that this was basically a matter of balance. When it really boils down to it, to balance it out, to make her experience. I think the parents knew what they were doing, just as they knew that, they had to, if she was going to be a good middle-class colored girl, she had to take piano lessons. So they drove 30 miles. They did what they had to do, what they thought they had to do. But it was about balance and appropriateness and getting the job done.
But let me just state that, Black schools had excellent teachers. They stressed education.
My gosh.
It was what they got from the state, from their county. They got secondhand books. I mean, the librarian that I wrote about, Ethel Martin Bolden, her principal in an all-Black school was getting ready to get rejects in regards to, secondhand books. And he's like, we're not taking that. And this is the Waverly School in Columbia, South Carolina. The principal said, no, back that truck back up. We're not taking secondhand books. So they really had to fight for, quality materials. So I'm thinking that, her parents were saying, okay, we don't have to fight for these quality materials, these quality books in a white school, unfortunately. So I think that her parents probably wanted her in that environment.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you are quite correct about the excellence of the Black teacher. My brother and I speak of this often. My father was a educator in Cincinnati public school and was principal of the de facto segregated school. So I went to a Black school with Black teachers. We won't talk about when that was, back in 19 blah, blah, blah. And the teachers that I had in the classroom were people who in this generation would be head of American Express, You understand what I'm saying to you? They were so underemployed. My 5th grade English teacher read the Iliad to us from the original Greek. She should have been teaching Greek at the University of Cincinnati. She was teaching me 5th grade English. So you know what the demand was and what the requirements were and what the expectations were.
And
you won't find that in a public school.
And can I just say, I'm sorry, Richard.
Yes, please.
I don't want to, I'm not going to speak too much. I'm feeling a little under the weather this evening, but I will say, since we're talking about Avery, that Avery Normal Institute is an excellent example of a really good school that created Black leadership.
Yes.
Second to none. So yeah.
Well, speak to Avery then. Give us a little Avery history. Give us a quick capsule. Because not everybody here, not everybody here is from Charleston, and not everybody from Charleston knows the Avery story.
Well, Avery Normal Institute which is over on Bull Street, 125 Bull Street, was created, officially established in 1865 by the AMA, the American
Missionary
Association. But it really began even a little before that, the sort of planning of it. And they began recruiting, they began developing teachers. I think, was it the Cardoza brothers that were some of you Avery folks? It's been a while since that kind of got started there. And so they began developing teachers out of there, and some excellent teachers and others. It offered not only educational training, but Avery, I think, apart from some of the other schools of the day of that type, offered a classical education as well. So that was one of the things about it. So when you speak about somebody speaking Greek and the Iliad and stuff like that, I mean, they offered those kinds of things at Avery as well. You can read more about Avery. I'm not going to speak too much about that because that's not the subject necessarily, but in Dr. Drago's book, Initiative Paternalism and Race Relations by Edmund Drago, or there's the Avery's Normal, Charleston's Avery Center, which is the revised edition by Dr. Drago and Dr. Martin.
Thank you.
Dulaney, who was a former director of Avery.
And current national president of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History.
Exactly. So.
Yeah, exactly. So there.
In fact, I'll type the names in the chat.
So. Oh, perfect. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Deborah. Appreciate it. So let's go to.
But can I just interject something about teaching?
Sure. Go ahead. Jump in.
Thank you. As a teacher myself, I think to me what spoke volumes about the quality of the teachers, not in terms of their academics or their education, but in terms of their impact on students, was when she was talking about how they would play, and whenever the teachers came by, the kids would run and hide because they knew they were supposed to be studying and not play.
Yes. They'd run inside the house where they were supposed to be studying.
Yeah. And how she said that going to the school that she went to, that would never have crossed her mind to do, but that there was such respect for those teachers that they, their whole lives were impacted about that. And I thought the other thing that was very interesting was when she talked about her mother and how when she began to teach at the white school, that she could no longer really speak about the importance of them going to school, and that the mission was for them to really be full participants in society, and that she couldn't speak with them in the same way. And, as a teacher, I think about that sometimes, that there are moments when you just want to say to a kid, you just want to speak to them like you would speak to your own children or your own nieces and nephews. And of course, because of the setting, you can't do that. But that in the Black schools, it sounded like she felt comfortable talking to those kids about, this is why we're being educated. And this is what's really important about your education. And I thought that was a very powerful statement.
Indeed. The implications of having people from your community that you see every day, and what it's role modeling in a way that we are not currently accustomed to.
Yeah, teachers would make house visits.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, yes.
And think nothing of it. And the parents would welcome them because they wanted to know what was going on with their child. And if there was a problem, they would be on it. The child would get it from both ends, from the parents and from the teacher. And of course, there was no escape the teacher, because you would run into them in the supermarket, you would run into them at church. So yeah, it was a very close-knit communities. That was throughout the United States because of segregation.
Exactly. And the families did not disrespect the teacher. So if you said the teacher doesn't like me, or the teacher basically told a lie about me, guess what your word meant? Nada. You were going to say, jump in, Pam?
I was just going to say, conversely, I mean, we've all probably heard the stories of, gifted Black students being told by white teachers, don't even try to be a lawyer, don't even try to be a doctor. That's not a profession you can have. How can you teach kids if you're going to put those kind of, that's like antithetical to teaching, So I thought she touched on that in an interesting way when she was talking about her experience.
Yes. The discouragement on the other side. Yeah. Anybody? Jim?
I just have a comment. I have not read the book, so I am listening to gain some insight prior to doing that. But I can speak to the whole experience of attending a segregated school, because I grew up in the 50s and 60s going to that type of school. And I can also speak wholeheartedly to the educational requirements that those Black principals put on their staff. Both of my parents were teachers. And so I lived that experience not only in the school, but also in the home and in the community. And the teachers during that time were required to have master's degrees in the 50s and 60s. They spent their summers going to NYU and Columbia and Northwestern to obtain those degrees and skills to bring back to their students. And yes, they did speak to their students in a way in those segregated schools that they could not do if they were in an integrated environment, to motivate them and to let them know what is required of them in the world and why education was so important to them.
Thank you. Oh yeah, we're happy to have your endorsement on this now. And I think the book is, I'm not sure that you were here when we were talking about the fact that the quality of the writing is quite high. And I considered it one of the easiest reads, easy in terms of the fluidity of the language and how quickly you could move through. There's a lot of new information for me. For example, I had no idea of the relationship between some of the heroes from the film. I remember well the film that she talks about, Giant, but the other film that she talks about, The Alamo. I was a great lover of Jim Bowie until I read the book and discovered what his relationship with slavery had been. I was actually surprised, and I would have to say a little chagrined, because I had held such a good opinion of him over time. But she gets into the relationship of these people who are considered to be patriots of the highest order. And over and over and over again, we see the American hero as a slave owner. And that's a little hard to swallow. Anyway, what about Gardner, General Gardner? What do you think about him, and what was his role in all of this? You remember him? Order number General, what was it? Order number 3?
Do you mean Granger?
Granger, yes, Granger. Thank you. You know, I will mess up your name. Miss Gaston will attest to that. What about him? Who do you think he was? She doesn't give us a lot of insight into him, but what do you think? How would you feel coming into that role with that kind of mishmash, political theory, thought, ideas, etc.? I have to say, I thought he did a masterful job. I don't know. You know, it's one of those situations where it was no win. There was no possibility to win, but he did the appropriate thing. And I'm noticing that we're getting really close to the end, and there were a couple of housekeeping things that I wanted to do. Does anyone have any last comment or thought about this, and any idea that they want to share?
I just wanted to say, like, when you were talking about Jim Bowie and because those are the shows that were on TV coming up, and you know, just oh my goodness, get him with the knife, you know, the whole thing. And that's what we learned. So what I have gotten from this book is, I wrote this down. This book was very informative. I learned quite a bit about what I had learned.
Yes. Oh, how lovely. Very good. Oh, yeah. Can we quote you?
Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right.
Use it.
Use it. That's a good one. Pam, did you want to share?
I just wanted to say I thought the coda was very powerful, and her comment after sharing her personal history and intermixing it with this other, you know, American history. Her comment when she says, you know, about the difficulties of Texas, love does not require taking an uncritical stance toward the objects of one's affections. The whole idea of like loving your country when it doesn't love you, you know, I mean, it's nothing new, but certainly for the African-American history, but I mean, it's just so powerful. Like, and I thought it was very powerful where she placed it as a coda in the book.
Yes. She ends with a very interesting comment, I thought. She said, we can't be of real service to the hopes that we have for places and people, ourselves included, without a clear-eyed assessment of their and our strengths and weaknesses, but often demands a willingness to be critical, sometimes deeply so. How that is done matters, of course. Striking the right balance can be exceedingly hard. I hope I've achieved the proper equilibrium. And my question to you is, did she? I'm seeing a lot of shaking heads. Anybody want to give voice to it? To her coda at the end? Okay.
I would like to say that, you know, in a group, a book discussion group, evaluating the equilibrium is, in this present day with teachers, what I wanted to say is that I don't think a teacher today could teach on Juneteenth in the public schools because of the discrediting of the real story. And so I have this dilemma about what to do, because in my thinking, knowing the whole story is very important. I have not always known or lived the whole story, but I just can't believe that it's hurting me to know the whole story, even at my age. So that's, to me, the dilemma about her writing, and especially like the writing in the Hemmings book, which, just the revelations. And yet today, because of the restrictions of the present time, our teachers are not able to teach the truth. And that, to me, is the biggest dilemma that we have. I enjoy reading the truth, but how do we do something about the truth being able to be in an equilibrium? And I appreciate the fact that she said that we have to come with a balance.
Yeah.
But today people aren't trusting us to come up with that balance. And it's sad to me, and I don't want to just belabor that, but I'm grateful to find this group. I'm grateful that we've read this book together. I'm looking forward to, do you meet monthly, or it's really exciting.
Well, Georgette is going to fill us in on where we're going and some of the things that we need to do. And before she does that, I want to say I have 2 links for local Juneteenth events. There are a whole bunch of celebrations over the weekend here in Charleston. I'm sure if you're not in Charleston, Google Juneteenth celebration. I'm sure there's something going on now that it's a national holiday, and it's not the first Monday after the something. It is June 19th. And so that means we're going to be celebrating sometime Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, this time Sunday, I think, to have the celebration. That's one thing. The other thing that we want to talk about is one of the books that we're going to read soon will be one that we choose. And so I'm going to turn the mic back over to Georgette to remind you of what she has written in the chat about our voting for the Reader's Choice for 2022. Georgette.
Yes, if everybody can open up their chat, please, on the head and go to the head of it. Our members have voted a couple of months ago in regards to what book that they would like to read for the month of August, and we call it the Reader's Choice. And we've narrowed it down to 3 books: So Long a Letter, All That She Carried, and Island Queen. And if you go to the link on the Survey Monkey, it will have a full description with the author and the description of the book, so you can vote on. And please get your vote in by Thursday, June the 23rd, and we will let everybody know. The next thing is that if you're new here, we'd love to have you as a regular to join us. And I put my email in the chat, so please contact me. I know that you usually get Avery's, but this is a direct membership link. So okay. I will not flood you with emails unless I have urgent news. But next month's book, the next time we meet the 3rd Thursday of every month. So the next discussion will be July the 21st at 6:30. We've been meeting on Zoom. We find it most convenient, and then we can get a wide variety of people coming from not only locally, but different states. And we really enjoy that. We really enjoy the camaraderie and discussions. And now, on the month of July, we usually dedicate to our young adults. because we want our young adults to read too. And it's sort of good to know what young adults are reading nowadays also. The person, we have another moderator, but she is going through a lot of major exams. She's studying to be a physician's assistant. Her name is Zora Mayo, and unfortunately she couldn't join us tonight because she has.
And of course, we know who she's related to.
Another, yes, another extensive exam. So she's just a little bit overwhelmed, but we're sending her love and understanding and good vibes so she can get through this. But she holds the key in regards to what we're going to be reading next month. So as soon as I find out, I will email everybody and we'll get that going. So we hope to see you next month on the 21st.
We hope to see all of you again next month. And please feel free to bring a friend. Linda, we're happy that you found us and we're happy that we have you. And this is about remembering Dr. Francis, who loved books and who would be delighted to know that we are continuing to read in her honor and to enjoy the variety of books. I need to make the, I'm feeling real old. That's really am. I'm feeling really old this week. And that's because my body is talking bad to me. But anyway, what I want to say is when I was 12 years old, I had read everything in the Cincinnati Public Library that was written by a Black person. I couldn't even get to the top 7% of what's available today. And that I cannot tell you that, I mean, over that period of time, for the variety of the genres, of literary genres, and the variety of writers is magnificent. Now, if we could just get people to stop calling Toni Morrison a Black writer as opposed to an American novelist, we'll be in deep cotton. That's my summary statement, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all again in July. Have a great time and enjoy Juneteenth. Celebrate. I'm trying to think of, happy Juneteenth doesn't sound good to me. I'm going to say joyous Juneteenth.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us.